Hello again, this is me, and it's the first day of the month, which means that it's another entry in the new series Behind the Scenes. So, as I want to stress, there are three sides of this. There's the audio, and there's the video, and there's the video. Why two videos? One video is you recording your gameplay footage, the other video is recording you, so that people can see you play it, you can see your reaction, whatever. I think that perhaps putting your face over the footage of your gameplay is maybe more engaging. You get to see the man behind the keyboard. I don't know. But anyway, that's the way I do it. Not because it's original, but I guess because I see other people do it. Which perhaps is tragic. I'll try something new, revolutionize the way how it's done, but what can you do? I do work with this thing, which I pointed out in the last episode, this video switcher. And this video switcher, unlike the previous one that I had, which was also a Roland AV unit, does not have a automatic converter inside. The last one, whatever sources you fed it, it would convert it to the output of your choice. But this video switcher here does not have a converter, which means that whatever you put into it has to all be the same setting. And the setting is on the side of here. There's a little three-way switch. One setting is 720. The other is 1080p. The other is 1080i. I'm using 1080p. So, first off, we gotta focus on the video. And first we'll address the Commander Keen gameplay video. Now, this is my third monitor, as you saw. And this thing is capable of doing a lot of different things, including being a monitor for my computer. But the output of that has to be then 1080 at 50 frames. I chose 50 frames. I could also do 59 point something, but for now I'm just doing 50. Which means that if I go to my display settings, ta-da, and here's the display, I choose the corresponding, the third monitor or whatever, and then I go to my display, I can make it display all sorts of things. So if my video switcher was set to 720 instead of 1080, I think I would choose this choice, the 1280 by 720, because they choose the second number, it's the smaller number. And then I will go into the advanced display settings and make sure the frame rate is 50. But it's all I get is a refresh rate or the hertz. So I guess this is what the frame rate is for computers, is the refresh rate. Maybe the two are the same. Maybe there's something a little bit different. Before I had this setting, right? So it was 59 point something. But these days I just have it set to, whoops, this is the wrong one, 50 hertz, so that it can be 50 frames per second or whatever. That seems to work. Voila, there you go. You've got your Commander Keen footage coming out of your third monitor, compatible with the video switcher, ready to go in 1080 and 50 hertz. Now for your camera, I use this Blackmagic Pocket Studio camera thing, and if you just bear with me, I will switch the input for my main display to go to HDMI 2, just to take a look at a copy of the camera. Hello. The camera may not come with the settings, but I'll investigate that later. Here is the 5 buttons on the camera itself. I would go into pressing the menu button, then I would press the up button and go to monitor. And then I would press set, and I would down. Okay, here we go. Here is SDI output for the camera. Now, just for those of you who don't know, maybe, there is two different connections that I can make. I can either go HDMI, which is the trapezoid thing, or I can go SDI. And SDI is the same thing, only it uses a BNC connector. And there are two types of this. Make sure you have the right one. The wrong one is when there's a little white plastic coating around the center pin. And then this second inner ring here is like not there. So instead of having that, you have the second ring, and then that plastic coating is not there. That way, this is able to fit in with something like this. it slides on where there's this little hole here, this little notch, and there's one on the other side too. So you just twist it until it slides in, and then you twist it so that the grooves go along, and then it locks. And then you push in a little bit, and you start to twist, and then it'll pop right back out. So this is SDI. And so here on the camera output, I'm able to tell the camera to go to 1080 set. See, there's other options. There's the 1080i, which is interlaced at 1080p, and then there's this big Ultra HD version, which I don't use, or that you might not be able to use. So yeah, and then I would maybe go back to here and press set, and then the frame rate. The frame rate is 50 frames per second set. I could go 30 frames per second, 29, 23, 24, 25, 50, 50.5 points, 59 point something, and then 60 frames per second. But for now, I've got my video switcher doing 50, so my cameras have to do 50. So there you go. That's how you set the camera to 50 frames per second. Now, you might also have a camera that doesn't do all of that. So say for instance you've got a camera like this one, this funny little looking camera, and menu, audio, recording, display, settings, whoops. Okay, well, this is a 1080 camera. Sometimes you're able to choose different resolutions. This one is just 1080, so that's perfect, but it doesn't have the correct frame rate. I can't get this to be 50 frames per second. It's kind of locked at 30 being the highest amount of frames per second. So what you would have to then do is take the HDMI out from here, and then plug it into like a converter box like this one. So then you'd go into the HDMI in. Hold on. Here's an example of a somewhat of a specialty cable, but it's all HDMI. There's the standard big one, and then there's the micro, or is it mini? I don't know. But as you could see, if you're going out from your camera into a conversion box, you'd go into the HDMI. Since this particular camera doesn't have an SDI output, it needs to go out through its HDMI port. And the HDMI isn't the same size. So you've got this cable where on one end it's standard, on this end it's the little mini version. And then you plug it in. I should also say, though, that just equally as important is the power cable. You got that power cable, 12 volts, plug it in there. That way you're not running on batteries. So if you got a camera, make sure that it can be plugged in to the wall, as it were, because otherwise you don't want your camera to run out of battery while you're recording a Let's Play, because you don't know how long each episode of your Let's Play is going to be. So then after you fiddle around with the settings, here on the dip switches, you would then come out of the SDI here and go right into your video switcher. This thing also needs power. You can also go out HDMI as well, and then there's firmware updates on USB. This product, it kind of tells you what settings you want it to be, or how to access the settings. There's a ton of different settings on here, but the output of it, you want it to be matching properly. You would want it to be 50 frames. This one right here. That's 1080 and then 50 frames. So I don't know how these dip switches correspond, because there's two here. Like, who thought of this product? A better product than this one would be the decimator. And if you've ever looked at conversion in cameras, this thing has probably come up. This one is the gold standard. Decimator, baby. That's what you got. You got HDMI in and out, I think, and then the SDI outputs. More about this thing later, but just to say that if your settings, if you can't get to your ideal settings for your video switcher with your camera, it may be possible to run your camera into a converter box and then into the switcher. If you can't get up to 1080, your camera's too old. If you can't get to 50 frames per second, it only does 30. There are workarounds. You don't need to buy a new camera or throw the camera in the trash. Although these converter boxes are really expensive, it may be possible to make your old incapable camera, with the help of the box, capable of being compatible with the with the specs, with the video switcher, with the 1080 and 50 frames per second. So yeah, it might take buying a bunch of cables and a converter box, but at least then everything can work. I hope you found this useful, helpful. Just to say that plugging stuff in might not work, and it could be because your frame rate or your resolution or both. You got to make sure that the settings all match in terms of resolution and frame rate so that you don't run into any bugs. Goodbye.